Hello and welcome to Expats Everywhere. If you could tell us your name, where you're from, and a little about yourself.
Okay. Hi, my name is Joanne Benjathikul. I am from Thailand. I grew up in Bangkok my entire life, and then I went to school in the States and Canada before returning to Asia to become an international school educator.
That's awesome. So what countries have you worked in?
I have worked in Thailand and in Korea, South Korea.
So what is it like working in South Korea?
Working in South Korea has been pretty great. The food is amazing. There's always lots of things to do. But in terms of my job, as an international educator, it is consuming in the sense where I'm always with my students. As a teacher, you're working, longer than your 7 to 3 hours. But overall, if you love the profession, there's no going back.
If you could tell us what kinds of jobs are available for English-speaking expats?
Okay. So in South Korea, what I have seen so far, and I could be wrong here, but in terms of international people and the expat community, most of their jobs are as English tutors, or they would be teachers at institutions called hagwons. And these hagwons are more or less after-school tuition centers, or they're just education institutions where students get extra help. So most of the expats have taught English, but there are many degrees in subjects like math, science, social studies, all the core subjects related. But apart from education, I've seen them also work in the restaurants fields or in food and beverage, the hospitality industry.
Okay, well, speaking specifically about teaching jobs,
Okay.
What does a typical day look like for you?
So I work in an international school, so my day begins at 7 o'clock. Once I clock in school, we have meetings, and then we teach pretty much the whole day with the exception of lunch or special activities. And then our school clocks out, or our bell rings at around 3:30. Right after that, depending on what type of personality or what type of teacher or what you like to be involved in, I'm usually with my students until more or less 6 o'clock just because I like to coach them. And then after that, you have the rest of the night to yourself. It's not the most laid back style, but then again, it depends on how you would define as being laid back. I think for me, I love and I enjoy being with my students a lot, and I love coaching them, so it doesn't seem like it's a job per se. It's more of like a lifestyle, and when you go home, you just eat dinner and then you watch the TV, and then the whole day starts again.
What city did you work in Korea?
Oh yeah, I worked in Seoul, so the main city, or the capital city of Korea.
How much can someone expect to earn there being a teacher?
So I would say as an international school teacher, the range varies depending on the tiers of the school as well. But I would say a good guesstimation would be around 30 to 60,000 US dollars. If you work as a hagwon teacher or just an English tutor, that can really range, and it could be very different in terms of the pay, and that could start at 20 or even less than that, but it could also go all the way up to 60,000 as well.
All right, well, let's say that we make 45,000 USD.
Okay.
Do you think that this is enough money, and what kind of lifestyle can you live?
Yeah, so I would say if you made $45,000 around here, that's more than enough. In South Korea, I wouldn't say it's as cheap as you would see in things like Thailand or in Indonesia, Philippines, and Southeast Asia, which is where I'm from, but it's definitely enough for you to be able to splurge or do whatever you'd like. I don't think we've ever had to, cheap out on anything much, like in terms of food prices, entertainment, going to the movies. And on top of that, after all that, living in Korea, we still have quite a bit saved up to go traveling around the world in the summers and in Christmases as well.
So how much can you expect to save?
I would say if you are a single, you could save up to around 20,000 or even a little bit more than that. And if you're a couple or you're married and you have two working people or two working incomes, it would be around 40, so double that.
As you and your husband were preparing to move to Korea,
Yeah.
How much money did you need to start up? What do you recommend?
In the profession that we're in, I don't think you need to save up a lot, just because the institution that we're at, especially in international school settings, they provide for you for pretty much everything in terms of housing, health benefits, flight allowance. So I've seen other people come out fresh out of college, and they don't have a lot saved up, and they still have student loans, and they're still able to come on board as well.
Okay, and if you could tell us, what should someone pack when they want to move there, and what's the weather like?
Okay, so in terms of packing, I think as a female, the thing that's been hardest to get is feminine or hygiene products in Korea, but also anything that is not typical of the Asian fashion. So what I mean by that is as simple as shoes. Even though I'm of the Asian descent, my feet are much bigger than the average Korean female. So I go at around size 9.5 to 10, and getting shoes is almost impossible for me. So every time I go back to the States or Canada, I rack up on those Payless points. And yeah, everything in terms of healthcare, I would say products other than the American brands you should be able to find in Korea. So the weather, we have 4 seasons, which is great. Coming from Thailand, I've never gotten to experience any of that. I've just got the summer and the rainy seasons. So we get the falls and we get winter as well. Our winter has been rather longer than I would have loved it, but with that, you do have to pack a lot of winter clothes, but Korea supplies an ample amount of winter coats and sweaters because they know what's up in their country.
So talking about some of those products you can't find, how do you cope without them?
So actually in Korea, even if you can't find it in shops as easily, it's not as easily accessible, there's a lot of online shopping platforms that you're able to purchase from. Amazon delivers. It might take a while, like 2 to 3 weeks for your shipment to come through. We don't got no Prime, but other than that, I've never been able to not get something that I needed in Korea.
All right, and then let's shift gears a little bit and talk about safety.
Okay.
Is it safe there, and did you feel safe on a personal level?
Oh yeah, I would say safety level I've had, 0 issues with. Growing up in Bangkok, I didn't think it was that dangerous either. I know a lot of people thought it was a little bit shady, but in Korea, at nighttime, at midnight, because it's such a bustling city and there's so many lights and so many people outdoors all the time, this is not, don't do as I do, but do as I say. I put my purse, I leave my zip open, my camera, my wallet, everything's just out in the open, but I've never felt like somebody was going to hold me at gunpoint or even steal from me. So it's been pretty safe.
And have you had any friends that have had some episodes with security?
I've only been there for 2 years, but so far nobody.
Well, how do you meet people, and what can you do for fun in Seoul?
Okay, so this is one of the gems in Korea and why I wanted to move to Seoul in the first place. Seoul has a myriad amount of things to do there. Like they have everything from pottery class to DIY painting studios, any type of talent or any skill or any hobby that you enjoy, as small as you think it is, you'll be able to find it in Korea. And that's also how you meet people, I guess. Like when I went to Korea, Korea is known for their K-pop industry. I'm not a dancer, but I kind of stepped out there. I wanted to take a class to see what it was like since I was part of it, and now I go dancing, and I've made a couple of friends there, and then I've expanded not just to K-pop, but to swing dancing and salsa and all of those things. So it really depends what you're interested in, but whatever you wanted to do, you could find in Seoul.
Awesome. Let me ask you a bit about the visa process.
Of course.
First, do you have dual nationality or multiple passports?
No, so I am Thai, and so I only hold and carry the Thai passport.
Okay, so what was the visa process like for you?
Okay, so my institution, they took care of everything for me. I think it's a lot easier for people who are from the West. So in America, if you're American, if you're Canadian, Australian, or anywhere in Europe, or New Zealand, I think these are the top countries where visa process will just zip right through. For me, coming from Thailand, it was a little bit tougher, but I didn't have to personally deal with it. But I have a lot of Thai friends living in Seoul as well that they didn't have issues with as well.
Let me ask you this, because this is something that my wife and we confronted a bit with some of our other Asian friends.
Yeah.
What is it like being an Asian living in Seoul?
Okay, so I would say that this would lead to one of the cons. The misconception here is that because I'm Asian, when I go to Korea, it's a simple plug-in, you know, everyone looks like me, so I'm able to just talk to them and everyone accepts and welcomes me, but it's quite the contrary there. Because I look Asian and because I look so close to their people, they assume automatically that I'm Korean. And so the issue that I've been having the past 2 years that I've been living there is that when they assume I'm Korean, they will automatically, without being their fault, they would speak to me in Korean, and I can't reply back as well as they would like. And I think for them, it's more of a shock. And then in their minds, it's hard to let go of the fact that I'm not Korean. So they would, I would say, ask or request me to speak in Korean even though I can't. So it's been a little bit of an issue there, but it's pretty much a language barrier. I think if you don't look like me, you know, or if you are Caucasian or actually any other race but Asian, I think you'll have a much better experience. They're more likely to be friendly towards you because they know obviously that you are not Korean or you're not from anywhere close.
Yeah, this is the same thing that some of our other friends have said. So I'm glad that we're getting this on video, so it gives our audience an indication. Because I think there are a lot of either Asian Americans or Asian Canadians that are looking to move to Korea. We met a bunch of people that wanted to.
Yeah.
Tell me about the healthcare. How's the healthcare, and would you feel comfortable getting a procedure done in Korea?
Yeah, so I think the medical system in Korea is outstanding. I don't think we've ever run into any issues where the Korean doctors couldn't figure out what's wrong. I think if anything, they go above and beyond in terms of their medical assistance and care. I think most of the people know in South Korea too, they're known for their cosmetic industry. So cosmetic industry doesn't just imply, you know, plastic surgery and getting Botox and stuff, but it's everything to do with, you know, simple dermatology. So if you have the smallest thing like acne, which everyone has, you know, I think Korea wipes that away with a snap of their medical procedures. Things are very inexpensive there. So I think in terms of healthcare, they're pretty top notch, and yeah, they're really outstanding.
What do you think about Korea and Seoul specifically as a travel hub? Do you think that it's a good travel hub? Why or why not?
Okay, so I think coming from Thailand, I wouldn't compare it as well as a travel hub, just because if you look at the geography of South Korea, our closest neighbors here are North Korea, which I mean, it's not very visible at this point. And then you have China. Then after that, the closest territories maybe like in Hong Kong and Taiwan. But even those flights are around 4 to 5 hours. Like if you wanted to go further, Thailand is 6 hours. So I think compared to the Southeast Asian region, it's not as great as a travel hub. But if you look at it in comparison to the world, it's definitely much more convenient than, let's say, you lived, you know, in central smacks in the States, just because you are really landlocked there. So you can experience different cultures in Korea, but fewer than you would if you could live in Southeast Asia.
All right, Joanne, this has been great. Let's try to wrap it up here and talk about the pros and cons. So what are the pros and cons to living in Seoul?
Okay, so like I said earlier, food is a huge pro. I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I love Korean food anyways, and my appetite has grown much more in terms of the tasting and trying all these different Korean items. But like I said earlier, the amount of things to do there, you can never get bored in Korea. The geography of the place, there's beaches, there's also high mountains that you can hike. In terms of activities, I'd rate it a 5-star. Food gets a 4.7 because there's an overload of kimchi a little bit. But I would say, yeah, the pros in terms of your lifestyle, that would be it. The cons though, and I think this is also a personal cultural experience, but it's also what I alluded to earlier. I would say the people there, because I am Asian, it's been harder for them to accept that I'm not Korean. So I have very frequent occasions where if I get into a cab or if I ask to buy, certain food items, I wouldn't be treated as well. But it's completely not their fault, right? I mean, they think that I'm Korean, and that's pretty much it. So the only way that I figured that I'd get over that is to go and study Korean full time, which is what I'm planning to do next year. But yeah, other than that, I wouldn't say that there are many cons to living in Seoul. Lifestyle is great, food is amazing, activities, you have all 4 seasons, and you're in a hub and of a city of technological advancements. You get to travel as much or anywhere in the world. Yeah, so I mean, I love Seoul, and that's why I'm living there now.
Brilliant. Listen, if people want to stay in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you? You've got a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel, you can just search my name, Joanne Benjathikul, but it's below the links.
Yeah, we'll link that in for you guys.
Yeah, or you can just, Facebook me or find me on Instagram. I'm on all those social handles.
All right, Joanne, thank you so much for meeting with Expats Everywhere.
Thank you for having me. Till next time. Bye.